First things first, William, how are you?
I'm good. I'm actually doing. I'm doing pretty good.
Well, that's good to hear
Yeah.
because you've been through a rough time,
Sure.
and it's yeah. We might as well jump straight into it.
Sure.
Your life came crashing down in a way after already making an album.
Yeah.
How did you? Because I don't want to focus on the negative too much, but how did
Sure.
you get out of it? How did you mentally get ready to make the album that you've just now made?
That's a good question. I took time. I had to. There was. I didn't choose to not do anything. I just couldn't do anything
Sure.
for a while. Not to be dramatic, but I was a bit of a mess. And
I can imagine. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, difficult things happen to everybody, and I think honestly one of the blessings of it for me was having my daughters, and knowing that you have to show up for them still. You don't get to stop being a parent, and that just having that one thing, having them to focus on, was actually really neat. It's after a while something switched in my head that was the music at that point felt very tainted. It felt very painful to even to pick up a guitar. But all of a sudden I started to get this motivation to take back something. It felt like somebody kind of came in, like somebody snuck in the middle of the night and sort of stole something from me, stole the experience of making that record and my songs. And at some point, it felt like I wanted to take that back. I wanted to go right back and grab it and do something that was mine,
Right.
that I could be proud of and happy with. So whenever that moment happened, I sort of just dove in.
Where did you start? Was it a song that came out of you? Or?
Trying to think if there was even a moment. Honestly, I think the biggest moment was my manager had he's a friend too, so that obviously I was leaning heavily on other people at that time, people that I trusted, and he works with and has worked with a producer that was down in Nashville, and something about it, he just knew. He was like, dude, I don't know if you guys are going to make music together or just hang out, but I really think you need to talk to this guy. And that was Adam Landry, who ended up making the record. And we just jumped on the phone and we talked for a half hour. It wasn't even that long, 20 minutes, half hour. And there was something that was really, he's kind of a therapeutic person,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad for him because making the record was, most of it was him kind of being my therapist. He would just sort of let me vent, and he would sit there and we would just sit outside in his garden and smoke and talk. And the neat thing is that making music kind of came organically from that.
Right.
There wasn't like, okay, at 11 o'clock we start tracking drums or something. It was working with him and finding someone that was really positive and was outside of all the negativity it was really inspiring. I'd wanted to work after that point. I actually wanted to go back to the music and start hammering away at it.
Because I can imagine if you make an album and at the moment that you're making it, you think you like it, you love it, and then you have to throw it away.
Of course.
So, what is it like after an experience like that, being creative again? Do you judge yourself more harshly? How does that work?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was whenever there's some kind of any like betrayal of trust, whenever that happens to someone, and these things happen to all of us all the time, unfortunately. You go back and you question everything that you do. You're like, well, maybe I deserve this, or maybe I'm not actually good at writing songs or singing or any number of things. I think I got so low to the point that I didn't care anymore, which is actually kind of cool. That I mean, when I went down there, I didn't care if what happened. I didn't really care if we finished the record. I didn't really care if we made a record, you know. But that was a helpful place to be because he took where I was, my producer did, and we just worked from there. It wasn't like, look, man, you got to pull yourself together. Or I can't, you know. He was like, no, okay, you're messed up right now, man. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. What do you want to do? You know. And that was, honestly, it was really nice to not care. And I don't think it's an accident that, in my opinion, the record's so good. I think part of it is I wasn't overthinking anything. If something sounded good, we just did it. And if he wanted to try something I'd never done before, I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. I don't care. Right. What's the worst that could happen, you know?
How big a part of this was recording everything on tape?
That it was a huge part of it, because it doesn't allow you to overthink. It's all limitation. That's all tape is it's one big limitation. You get there's no fixing stuff. There's no, you know, when we in the digital world of making music, it's all about throwing as much stuff at the computer as you can. You know, it's like, we'll do 20 takes of this guitar, and if 19 of them are terrible, one of them's pretty good, we'll take that one, but there's a bad note. All right, we'll grab this note from take 2, and this little solo from take 4, and it ends up being really perfect. But there's a lot of times you're removing the soul completely from it. Whatever spirit is in the whole performance, from top to bottom, you're killing it. You're taking it out. And I'm not saying you can't make good music digitally. You can, of course. But when you're doing it on there's something about sitting down in front of a microphone and you hear that it's on. You can hear the you know, you hear the air and everything, and knowing the tape's rolling. Whatever I do, that's what you're going to hear in a year on your iPhone. That's what's going to come out. So you feel this pressure, you know, and so you either play it or you don't, you know.
And in particular with an album as raw and honest as this one, like you say, you only have a couple chances, or it's a one-take thing.
Yeah.
So how do you create the right circumstances in the studio to portray what you want in the song?
For me, it's about isolating.
Okay.
So it was me and I had a couple friends, and Adam had a couple friends, very talented people that would come in for a day. You know, we would schedule these things, but other than that, it was the two of us. It was I mean, we're in Nashville, but he has a home studio. It's an amazing studio, but there was nothing else going on. We weren't going out and partying afterwards. We weren't even like leaving for lunch. Or we would like drive and get a coffee, but then we go right back to the studio. So you're almost barricading yourself in there for weeks, and that allowed me to stay in that place, for better or for worse. I mean, right. It's hard because sometimes you need like a mental break from that work.
Sure.
But I loved it. Honestly, it felt like we could have been in outer space, and we wouldn't have been more alone. But it was the two of us together, and it was that dynamic that made it. I owe him a lot. It's funny because they're my songs, but some producers do great work, but they're not really invested in it too much, you know. But he dives in to the project. That's the producer that I want. It's the person that they don't just want to make a record that's going to make money or make the label happy. Like he really cared. He was like, dude, this has to be. We're telling this story. We have to tell this story right. No compromise.